Good morning, second and third graders. As you already know, we're dealing with biographies on this unit in reading and social studies and writing. I have another read aloud for you. It's called Wangari's Trees of Peace. And Wangari was a real person. She lived in the 1940s and she was born and raised in a country called Africa. A country called Kenya. As you know, it's on the continent of Africa, because you guys all know where your continents are now. So we're going to read this book. And every time I read this book, I notice new things. Like this time, I noticed that the color of the pages kind of follows what's going on in the story. Not just the pictures, but the background color on the pages. And that was a new notice for me. So hopefully you can maybe watch it once or twice and notice some more things. Wangari was a hero. She did some very important things when she was very young too, just like you guys are going to do. So let's learn about Wangari, and they call it Wangari's Trees of Peace. You can see the cover there on my slide. Wangari lives under an umbrella of green trees in the shadow of Mount Kenya in Africa. You guys know where that is. She watches the birds in the forest where she and her mother go to gather firewood for cooking. And she helps harvest the sweet potatoes, sugar cane, and maize from the rich soil. Wangari shines in school, and when she grows tall like the trees in the forest, she wins a scholarship to study in America. There she is working with her mom. Here she is. She's headed to America. And this is a biography. It's true. 6 years later, her studies are over. Wangari returns to her Kenya home and sees a change. What has happened, she wonders. Where are the trees? Wangari sees women bent from hauling firewood miles and miles from home. She sees barren lands where no crops grow. Where are the birds? Thousands of trees have been cut down to make room for buildings, but no one has planted new trees to take their place. Will all of Kenya become a desert, she wonders, as her tears fall? Wangari thinks about the barren land. I can begin to replace some of the lost trees here in my own backyard, one tree at a time. She starts by planting 9 seedlings. She's sad. There she is, the very first seedlings. Watching the seedlings take root gives Wangari the idea to plant more, to start a farm for baby trees, a nursery. In an open space, she plants row after row of the tiny trees. Next, Wangari convinces the village women that planting trees is a good thing. Our lives will be better when we have trees again. You'll see, we are planting the seeds of hope. The women spread out over their village, planting tiny trees in long rows, like a green belt stretching over the land. I'd like to see that. Sorry, guys. The government men laugh. Women can't do this, they say. It takes trained foresters to plant trees. The women ignore the laughter and keep on planting. Wangari pays them a small amount for each seedling that's still living after 3 months. Their first earnings ever. To help them. See if I can get my face out of the middle of the story. Word travels like wind rustling through leaves about the green returning to Wangari's village. Soon other men in other villages and towns and cities in Kenya are planting long rows of seedlings too. Oh, she's a hero. But the cutting continues. Wangari stands tall as an oak to protect the old trees that are still remaining. We need a park more than we need an office tower. Look at her, she's very brave. She doesn't know nothing to people anymore. The government men disagree. Wangari blocks their way. So they hit her with clubs. They call her a troublemaker and put her in jail. And still she stands tall. Right is right, even if you're alone. It kind of reminds me of Martin Luther King right now. Well, Wangari is not alone. Talk of the trees spreads all over Africa. It ripples in Lake Victoria. More women hear the talk and plant even more seedlings in longer and longer rows. The seedlings take root and grow tall until there are over 30 million trees where there were none. Trees, you guys. That's so neat. The umbrella of green in Kenya returns. Women walk tall, their backs straight. For now, they can gather firewood close to home. The land is no longer barren. Sweet potatoes, sugar cane, and maize grow again in the rich red earth. The whole world hears of Wangari's trees and her army of women who planted them. And if you were to climb to the very top of Mount Kenya today, you would see millions of trees growing below you, and the green Wangari brought back to Africa. She was great. And here is some information about her. If you get a chance to find the book, Wangari's Trees of Peace. I really enjoyed this book. I read it a couple of years ago with another class, and it stuck in my head. And sort of like Dr. Martin Luther King, how one person can just make a huge difference. And maybe you're that one person. Talk to you guys soon. Once again, this is a biography, a story about someone's life.